Viewers and listeners of the Morse Force, Chuck Morse, Monday through Friday, 12 noon, or thereabouts. You're welcome to join the program. I'm doing an open lines Friday type program here, 617-396-4830. If you're listening and you'd like to join the conversation, you're welcome aboard at 617-396-4830. Just to give an update here, I am in the process of developing an online live community where I will be going on the air Monday through Friday around 12 noon, give or take, and not every day. This is the internet after all, so I have other obligations. I can't make it every day, but I'm going to try to do it as much as possible. And the program is streaming live on 10 different venues, so I'm very excited about that, including, of course, the starship of the station, which is YouTube, and where I hope to build a considerable audience, and we can all get into this thing every day. All right, there are two issues I want to talk about today. Firstly, there is a new article out in The Sun of England about MK Ultra. MK Ultra was a secret CIA mind control outfit, which was established sometime after World War II, and which engaged in various experiments in mind control, how to control individuals, how to control populations. It ran in tandem with a Soviet department that was even much more extensive. And of course, it goes back. This isn't something that happened out of nowhere. It's a tradition that goes back in history where governments and maybe major organizations have tried to manipulate the minds of the masses. In fact, probably the number one project of the entire liberal, if you will call it, the Eastern Seaboard establishment, the left, whatever you want to call it, has been to control people's minds. What could be a better or more powerful expression of socialism? Public ownership of the means of production, public ownership of the means of communication, firstly, than to literally control people's minds. And the way that's traditionally been done is through control of the media, control of what people hear and what they don't hear, what they see, what they don't see. The Nazis were masters at this, the Nazi socialists, in that they learned how to manipulate people's emotions through mass experience of sight, sound, smell. Everything would be coordinated. You could see that in these enormous rallies they would have at night with bonfires and music blaring and the smell of smoke and the sensation. People would go into almost a state of hypnosis. Women were known to faint. People were caught up in a mass experience, a collective experience, if you will. And that was a form of mind control. Eddie Bernays, the nephew of John D. Rockefeller Jr., wrote a book called Propaganda, which has served as a kind of a template for not outright mind control in that they're going to literally control people's minds, but how to engage in mass media operations in such a way that it would promote products and services that they were selling. Whether it be cigarettes to women. There was a big campaign with that, or other same such services, which would get people, it would appeal to people's emotions. It would appeal to a basic desire to be one of the beautiful people, to have something that'll make you better or glamorous or better looking, and something that you could do it easily just by taking this one product. Half of these drug pushings, these commercials you see on primetime TV, this is going to cure this illness and it's going to make you whole and make you happy. And they invent things. Who do you think? Some ad agency invented psoriasis and seborrhea. because they wanted to sell Head and Shoulders shampoo back in the 1960s. And they sold the thing like snake oil off the back of a truck, because it's suddenly, I have a problem, which you may not have had or probably didn't have. And suddenly you have this cure for the problem that they basically created by putting the idea into your mind. Well, the whole business of the MK Ultra project was a lot more serious than that, in that it took ideas of mind control and it tried to literally create human, robots almost, but by taking them into the lab. It was Wilhelm Wundt, the 19th century psychiatrist, German psychiatrist, who brought psychiatry up to its logical conclusion with laboratories and how to literally manipulate the human brain through experiments. I personally would suggest that the entire business of psychology, psychiatry, all of it, is a subtle attempt to use mind control through emotion and through technique and even through science, which is what Wilhelm Wundt brought it up to. He actually looked at the human being as an animal and how to manipulate that animal. In Russia, you had Pavlov, who did the same thing with dogs. How to make them respond to stimuli, how to condition people. That's what it's all about, and I think that that's the logical conclusion of the socialist political idea, which is, again, public ownership of the means of communication. They want to own that which you receive and give in terms of communication. They want to own your right to trade goods and services, ideas. And by doing so, the ultimate means of doing that is through mind control. Now, I don't want to go too into details on this, but I will say that my latest published book, which is called Assassination in America, gets into whether or not there were certain mind-controlled or mind-manipulated people who were involved in assassinations, particularly the 2 Kennedy assassinations, the Martin Luther King assassination, and several others. Or that mind control techniques were used to cause certain suicides or alleged suicides, such as that of James Forrestal, who was the Secretary of Defense in the Truman administration. I get into those details in my book, Assassination in America, which is available at Amazon.com. But the major point here is that MK Ultra, this is a matter of history. A lot of the information was made public after the Church Committee hearings in the late 1970s, when allegedly MK Ultra was disbanded, where they did use drugs and they used other techniques, even possible implants of chips into people to control them. The Olson case is a famous one. There's actually a movie made about that recently, where he was given LSD, which is manufactured in a lab in Switzerland, and didn't know what was happening, and he ended up jumping out the window. The whole drug business. Timothy Leary, Ram Dass, these 2 Harvard professors, they were connected to the CIA. They were connected to MK Ultra. The psychiatrist in Los Angeles, Dr. Jolyon West, is another one who was involved. In Canada, you had this therapist, Ian Cameron, who did some ghoulish experiments with people in his lab and totally tried to manipulate their brains by means of, using techniques and drugs and possible implants. And I bring this up now because I think that in the broad sense, our society has become mind manipulated. And my evidence for that now is the way the anti-Trump movement has been created by the media. People know that they're supposed to despise Trump, no matter what. They don't know why, really. They might pick on little things here and there, but they just know that they're to view this man as evil, and there is this mass manipulation of the mind to try to reinforce that. When, in fact, if you take a step outside of it and think about it, you'll realize that not only is President Trump a relatively conventional president, but also that he is advocating for things that are good for the individual, that are good for minorities, that are good for people, because it puts the interests of his own nation first. And he is trying to do that. And but that's exactly what, of course, socialists hate. They want to stop that because they believe in collectivism and deception to get there. And they're afraid that Donald Trump is going to wake up the masses, as it were, to who they are as individuals. Trump is the ultimate example of the individual, the swashbuckling businessman who sallies forth and has his own mind. He may express things rather awkwardly at times, and maybe even is a bit vulgar, and he has a mean streak. He's not perfect. But he expresses things in a simple way that you can understand, and he resonates with people. And that's a major threat to these, if you will, and I use the term very broadly, these mind controllers, people who want to keep people in a state of somnambulance so that they don't really necessarily think in terms of their own interests. I think that this is an agenda generally that is being undertaken now, and every so often you have them tweak it with some kind of a Trump outrage. Oh, this is terrible. Look, he insulted a federal judge. Oh, this is the Constitution's falling apart. Democracy is coming to an end, Never mind the fact that even a cursory understanding of history, you know that presidents going back to Jefferson were critical of federal judges. In fact, under Jefferson, John Marshall, the chief of the Supreme Court, he actually left Washington because he was afraid he was going to be arrested. So, I mean, that's nothing new. That's part of the checks and balances. But because Trump does it, and he's this enemy of this hypnotic, messianic movement that seeks to control the human being, it has to be seen as evil, and there's a moment of outrage, and people you literally see people physically become different. They become ill because they have been controlled, because they're not up to who they are, really. And it's a very frightening and sad thing. But more specifically, to wrap it up, on MK Ultra, this report in The Sun indicates that, and this guy got information declassified. Let me see. His name is, he has this group called the Vault, and his name is John Greenwald. John Greenwald. And he worked for years with Freedom of Information to get information declassified, and he just did it. The article is up on The Sun. Again, it's called Spy Secrets, Truth About CIA's Illegal MKUltra Mind Control Experiments Using Drugs, Hypnosis, and Electronic Devices, Revealed in Sensational New Documents Officials Hid for Decades. So if you want to read those documents, check it out. It's in this article. I'm not going to read it here, but it's on The Sun publication, which I think is a British publication. It's interesting. A lot of things get published in Britain and they don't get published here. And one of the things he discovered from the documents he was able to get released is that a lot of material is still classified. It's still redacted, which indicates that it's still going on, even though this program was supposed to have been banned in the late 1970s. It would make sense that it would be going on. What is dearer to the heart of the left-wing establishment than mind control, not only of individuals, but of societies? Anyway, on that note, I'm going to thank you for watching today. If you want to call in the program going forward, the number is 617-396-4830, 617-396-4830. I am accepting calls, and I'm very pleased to be doing the program live. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, everybody.